This is Dan Dix here reporting for Press for Truth, and we are just 2 days into the new year, and there have already been 2 terrorist attacks in New Orleans and Las Vegas. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss who I think is responsible for these terrorist attacks, and also why this is happening now in the lead up to Donald Trump's inauguration in just over 2 weeks from now. So in case you guys didn't know, a Tesla Cybertruck has recently exploded out front of a Trump hotel. Many are saying this is a clear message being sent to Elon and Donald Trump. There was also a terrorist attack on Bourbon Street in New Orleans with 15 dead, dozens injured, after a terrorist plows ISIS flag-waving truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street. Now, I have a lot of questions that need to be answered in regards to these 2 events, so let's just jump right into it, ladies and gentlemen. Like, why did the FBI Deputy Assistant Director claim that there were no definitive links between what happened in New Orleans and Las Vegas, even though the parallels between these 2, the New Orleans and the Las Vegas attacks, are uncanny? Both of these guys were U.S. Army veterans who served in Afghanistan. Both of them were stationed at some point at Fort Bragg. Both of these attackers were killed in separate incidences. Both used the peer-to-peer car-sharing app called Turo, and both were IT specialists with computer systems knowledge. Nothing is coincidence with this type of stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Meanwhile, you've got the Las Vegas police here saying that the Trump Cybertruck bomber was identified by a military ID and passport that was found in the vehicle because his body was burned beyond recognition. They could not identify this man from his remains, but they were allegedly able to find a passport, a paper passport that was able to survive the wreckage remarkably. You got the Las Vegas police here also reporting that the suspect had a gunshot wound to the head before the Cybertruck exploded outside of the Trump Hotel, Trump Tower. So you gotta ask yourself, how was he able to, pull off that miraculous magic trick? You also gotta ask yourself, why did Elon Musk post this picture just a couple of days ago with the caption saying, "This Cybertruck looks like the future"? He also suggested that the evil knuckleheads picked the wrong vehicle for a terrorist attack. The Cybertruck actually contained the explosion and directed the blast upwards. Not even the glass doors of the lobby were broken. And I would ask, is it that, people just happen to be lucky that this was a Cybertruck that was used by this alleged terrorist and not some other vehicle because, the Cybertruck was able to contain this? Or is it more that these ammunitions, these bombs, these explosives were really meant just for the visuals, not actually meant to cause a massive amount of damage, but were really put there as more of a show of imagery when you consider that there were gas canisters and fireworks with, flash bangs going off? It seems it was more about the imagery and less about the damage. You also have to ask yourself, why was the driver able to move his vehicle around a police barricade there, not only around the police car, but then past what should have been some steel barriers, driving all the way up Bourbon Street, and being able to, kill 15 people in this attack? You've got the city of New Orleans had hydraulic steel car barriers, but they left them down, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, they opted for flimsy orange ones that you could just easily push over with your finger. As per a witness, this is completely infuriating, they say. And what's probably more infuriating to me is this image here that is going around the internet of the FBI taking a picture of this ISIS flag, and you've got people online claiming that they didn't want this image to be released Because they're just lying to people and hiding the fact that this was ISIS. You got posts like this. They knew it was an ISIS flag right away, and the FBI agent lied about it to the world. No, they didn't, ladies and gentlemen. The FBI was very, very clear in putting this image out on purpose, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to talk about that in this video. We're also going to ask the question, if the feds did probe the possibility that the military link between these suspects, that there was a link in Bourbon Street massacre and the Trump hotel Cybertruck blast, then should they not have discovered that both men were potentially engaging in the 4th Psychological Operations Group, guys? The 4th Psychological Operations Group, or 4th POGA, is one of the United States Army's active military information support operation units, which is activated back in 2011 at Fort Liberty, which is formerly known as Fort Bragg. That's right, guys. Both these guys went to Fort Bragg, and they were both in this place that deals with psychological operations. Back in 2010, they changed the name of everything. They announced that what was made the military, they intend to rename psychological operations, or PSYOPs, to military information support operations. So at Fort Liberty, formerly known as Fort Bragg, these two guys were there, the very same place where they engage in psychological operations and military PSYOPs, guys. It's absolutely remarkable. These two men came from Fort Bragg that was dealing with psychological operations, guys. Also, we have to ask the question, if this former CIA officer is warning that 1,000+ Al-Qaeda fighters in the U.S. are ready for more attacks, should we be listening to the same organization that's responsible for the creation of this group in the first place, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about all of this and much, much more. But really quickly, just before we do, guys, I'd ask that you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Guys, here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. You could sign up for a monthly recurring contribution by clicking there or here. You can send me an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or you can send stuff to my P.O. box, guys. Thank you so much to everybody who does contribute to my efforts financially here at Press for Truth. I simply can't continue to do this work without the help that comes directly from you, the viewers. So thank you so much for that, guys. All right, let's start with this, guys. This is the chief of police, the superintendent in charge, essentially, in New Orleans, who has a bizarre similarity between the New Orleans police superintendent, her, Ann Kirkpatrick, and the ISIS terrorist. And that bizarre similarity is that she herself, New Orleans police chief Ann Kirkpatrick, actually struck a couple of pedestrians in her own vehicle once. She was fired as the chief of Oakland police, and then went on to become the chief of police for New Orleans. And the new superintendent of the police, Ann Kirkpatrick, is also an instructor for the FBI's leadership training program, where she instructs on bias and diversity. She's the chief of the New Orleans Police Department and DEI teacher. DEI is a danger to the security of our country. So that's kind of ridiculous that that's who you've got heading up this thing. And you may recognize, Elon Musk talking a lot about this, DEI and also things that really he's trying to get, the mega crowd and those on the right behind his ideas by talking negatively about DEI and things like that. Well, recently he's kind of run into some problems with his views on immigration. And I wanted to point out to you this imaginary scenario here that was posted on X by Whitney Webb. She says, just imagine this for a minute. So here's Elon Musk, who says, oh no, the people I've been manipulating into liking me through video game posts and anti-DEI tweets don't like me anymore because I revealed my true political views that they don't actually like. 2 days later, Musk says, I'm super based ultra Pepe meme again, guys. And I'm going to tweet about how I'm a hardcore Path of Exile player. 2 days later, oh no, it's not working anymore. Time to call up the Pentagon, which I contract for, and ask for some backup. Boom! Cybertruck explodes, courtesy, allegedly, of an active duty U.S. Special Forces guy. Musk then says, "Behold, my Cybertruck is terror-proof." Now, I'll tweet nonstop about Tommy Robinson and boost accounts claiming that the recent false flag terror attacks were caused by Muslim immigrants. See, I think some immigrants are bad guys, even though no Muslim immigrants were involved, and Al-Qaeda and ISIS are run by the same parts of the U.S. national security state that I work for. And that's the big crux of the matter, guys. We cannot forget that ISIS is a creation of the CIA, the Central Intelligence Community. They are the ones who are responsible for the creation of this group in the very first place. So, this is, like Whitney, points out, Elon Musk trying to turn the situation around, and why anybody would trust this man is beyond me. And also, why anybody would trust, the FBI when they're posting, images like this, claiming that, people are, making the claim that they're trying to hide this image when really these are the guys who are behind every single one of these false flags that we are currently witnessing. Guys, this is the fourth psychological operations group that we're dealing with here. Again, if you are new to this information, I'm going to put links to all of this stuff in the description below. But to think that the FBI didn't want this image to get out there is absolute nonsense, guys. They want you to think that ISIS is behind this and that there are potentially, future attacks coming up. And there are people who just don't seem to get this right now. I want to point you to another Whitney Webb post where she correctly says, some of the same prominent people who rightly have been pointing out that the FBI and the CIA are deeply corrupt, which they obviously are now saying that we should believe those agencies about the motives and the identities of those who are behind the recent attacks, and also believe the FBI and the CIA people that the U.S. is now infiltrated and infested with Al-Qaeda operatives who are poised to bring chaos to the U.S. in 2025? Even more odd, some of these same people used to rant for hours about how Al-Qaeda and ISIS were creations of the U.S. government, either directly or indirectly. Funny how narrative management works. Al-Qaeda is definitely a U.S. creation, and fear over current and or future attacks will be used to market a complete techno-tyranny takeover. You will be told that digital ID, digital surveillance money, and Palantir big data pre-crime algos are the only ways to stop the terrorist attacks, and it will be disturbing to see how many fall for the ruse. Don't give in to the fear and don't consent. Digital ID and many of these technologies will only stick if you voluntarily comply and adopt them. And I would say very, very well said, Whitney Webb. She is absolutely correct in that statement, saying that some people seem to be going along with the official narrative of the FBI, saying that this was some sort of Islamic attack coming at the hands of Al-Qaeda and ISIS, completely forgetting that Al-Qaeda and ISIS are a creation of the CIA. We cannot trust the FBI, and what they are pushing for is more control, both in the Middle East and right here in the West at home. I mean, here, look at this. You've got the New Orleans District Attorney, Jason Williams, calling for more UK-like surveillance in the aftermath of this attack. The United Kingdom has used mass CCTV cameras to implement state-like surveillance of its citizens. They've recently used the systems to implement new fines and fees for people driving dated cars. We can't allow them to use this tragedy to deteriorate our freedoms any further. I would have to agree with that. And also, I want to point out another good post by Whitney. She says, just a suspicion, but I have a feeling that the alleged use of Airbnb and the Turo app by the alleged terrorist is going to be used to force an insane amount of KYC and probably biometrics on anybody who wants to use those or similar apps in the future, particularly if some of these behaviors occur in any future attacks. And I think she's absolutely right. They will use this as an excuse to ramp up the Big Brother Orwellian surveillance state. And not only that, but we are already being preconditioned for more false flag attacks to come at the hands of the CIA and the FBI, as we see here. You got this former CIA officer warning, you got 1,000+ Al-Qaeda fighters in the US who are ready for the next homeland attack. Guys, anybody who's sharing this video of the CIA director and is entertaining the idea that this is real, you shouldn't be paying any attention to, guys. This is a false flag operation in the making. These Al-Qaeda and ISIS operatives are a creation of the Western CIA intelligence operations, which, as I said, has an interest in destabilizing the Middle East and taking away all of our rights right here in the West as well. So I just wanted to bring all of that to your attention, guys, because this is the kind of information you're not necessarily going to be getting from the mainstream when it comes to these two terrorist attacks that happened on New Year's Day. So just wanted to bring all of this to your attention. Once again, guys, if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this info, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, you can check that top link in the description below. That's all for today, guys. I want to thank you for tuning in. Please click that thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and your family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned, guys. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.